Welcome. So what if I told you that the secret to doubling your focus at work wasn't some new productivity app, but a rule that came from the cockpit of a 1970s airplane? Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down a life-saving system from aviation that can totally change how you approach your workday.
All right, let's get right into it. To really understand this system, we have to go back in time, not to an office, but to the cockpit of a passenger plane on a foggy morning back in 1974.
So, on September 11th, Eastern Airlines Flight 212 was making its final approach into Charlotte, North Carolina. Everything seemed normal, the crew was experienced, the plane was perfectly fine, but something went terribly, terribly wrong. Any guesses on what the cause was?
Well, the official investigation found that the cause wasn't a mechanical failure. And it wasn't the bad weather either. No, it was something way more common, something we all deal with every single day. Just some casual, non-essential conversation.
And this timeline just shows you exactly how it happened. With just 8 minutes to go, the pilots started chatting about things like politics and used cars. 4 minutes out, totally absorbed in their conversation, they didn't even notice they had dropped too low. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was just too late. It shows how one small, seemingly harmless distraction can cascade into a complete catastrophe.
So, what on earth does a 1970s plane crash have to do with your job? Well, actually, everything. Because it tells us something really fundamental about how our brains are wired. Think about your mind like an airport, but an airport with only one runway. You can be landing a plane or you can have one taking off, but you absolutely cannot do both at the exact same time. You see, our brains really only operate in two different modes. You've got maker mode, which is for that deep, creative work that needs total focus. And then you have manager mode, which is all about communicating, reacting, and juggling small tasks. Now here's the crucial part. These two modes are completely incompatible. Trying to do both at once doesn't just mean you do them poorly, it pretty much guarantees you fail at both. And hey, this isn't some newfangled idea. Even the ancient Romans knew that real multitasking is a myth. Every single time you switch from a deep maker task to a shallow manager task, your brain pays a price. It's called context switching, and it costs you real time and energy to disengage from one thing and then ramp back up on another. And this is exactly where we see the danger in our own work environment. These phrases right here, they're the office version of loose talk in the cockpit. Can I borrow you for a second? It sounds so innocent, right? But what it actually does is yank you right out of that deep, focused state. And just a quick question. Well, that's basically an emergency brake for your train of thought. These interruptions literally destroy the conditions you need to do your best work. Okay, so let's get to the solution. Let's talk about the powerful system that the aviation industry built to solve this exact problem. Because after the Flight 212 disaster, everybody knew something systemic had to change. And what they created was the Sterile Cockpit Rule. It's really simple. During the most critical parts of a flight, like takeoff and landing, all non-essential chatter and activities are strictly forbidden. It's not a suggestion, it's a federal regulation. This rule makes focus non-negotiable, protecting the pilot's brainpower when it's needed the most. So how do we take this life-saving idea from 33,000 feet and bring it right down to our desks? Well, we can create our own sterile cockpit to protect our most productive and creative hours. And for most of us, that's the first few hours of the day. The system is actually really simple, and it's incredibly powerful. First, you define your critical phase. You treat the first 4 hours of your day like they're sacred. Second, you go sterile. That means emails closed, notifications are off, and all those quick questions have to wait. Third, you signal to everyone else that you're in a focus block. And finally, you just commit to working on your single most important maker task. That's it.
4 hours. That's the daily commitment. And I know it might not sound like a lot, but believe me, 4 hours of pure, uninterrupted deep work will produce way more and way better work than 8 hours of being constantly interrupted. This is all about working smarter, not just longer.
So, the main thing to take away from all this is that your focus is your single most valuable professional asset. By treating it like the critical resource it is and protecting it with a system like the Sterile Cockpit, you can fundamentally change the quality and the quantity of your work. The only question left is what will you accomplish in yours?